The movie begins with Emily, a young woman, walking through the woods. Shortly after, we see Emily and her husband, Andreas, driving to an old house in the forest. A few years prior, Emily lost her parents, and since then, she has had to take care of herself. She and Andreas took over her father's business, but now they are struggling financially. They have decided to sell Emily's childhood home to raise some money, hoping that the funds will help them fix their business and resolve their issues. While exploring the house, Emily reminisces about her happy childhood memories. Although she feels nostalgic, she remains determined to sell the house. Later that afternoon, Emily's younger brother, Jacob, pays a visit. Since he has been studying abroad, they haven't seen each other in years, and Emily is excited to see him again. However, when she introduces him to Andreas, Jacob appears displeased and quietly retreats to his room without acknowledging Andreas. In the middle of the night, Jacob visits Emily and notices that she is not as cheerful as she once was, leaving her puzzled by his late-night visit. The next morning, Emily and Andreas make a concerted effort to find buyers for the house. Andreas contacts potential buyers but struggles to finalize the sale due to their unfamiliarity with the area and lack of connections. Despite their best efforts, they fail to secure a buyer. Andreas then has to go to the city for a client meeting, and after a warm goodbye with Emily, he heads out. In the following scenes, we see that Jacob's life appears more stable than Emily's. He is a professional skateboarder traveling to various cities. While skateboarding down a street, he enters a store, where he notices a newspaper headline reporting a Black Panther sighting in someone's backyard. Local authorities are urging residents to stay safe indoors, as Black Panthers can be quite dangerous. When Jacob steps out of the store, he unexpectedly bumps into Andreas, who asks him to look after Emily while he's gone but becomes frustrated with Jacob's casual demeanor. Later, Jacob returns home to find Emily tidying up the house and discarding unnecessary items. He initiates a conversation about her intention to sell the house, revealing that he feels neglected by her. Emily denies this and assures him that he will always hold a special place in her heart. Jacob also informs Emily about the news concerning the Black Panther and advises her to be cautious while in town. That night, feeling lonely without Andreas, Emily occupies herself with work, missing her husband yet also grappling with complex emotions she hasn't fully understood. Perhaps these feelings are directed toward her brother. Later, as Emily prepares for bed, Jacob quietly approaches and watches her from the stairs as she changes into her pajamas. The following morning, Jacob decides to keep Emily company, sensing her potential loneliness. He goes to the garage and discovers his dad's old motorcycle, which needs repairs. Spending several hours fixing it, Jacob eventually completes the task and invites Emily to join him for a ride, reminiscent of their past outings. The siblings set out on a journey along quiet roads flanked by mountains and tall trees, visibly enjoying each other's company amidst the breathtaking scenery. They stop by a mountain to relax on the rocks, and while lying in the forest, Jacob opens up to Emily, saying he's missed her and is glad to be with her again. Emily shares that she, too, wishes they could have the same close relationship they enjoyed when they were younger. Later, while walking through the forest, Jacob reminisces about his and their dad's plans to climb a mountain and take in the view, expressing disappointment that it has become just a dream. The following day, while Emily and Jacob are doing household chores, she starts discussing her and Andreas' plans to sell the house. She explains that they need the money for their family business, but Jacob remains silent. As they finish their chores, they find themselves standing very close to each other. At this point, we learn that Emily and Jacob's love story was left unfinished a few years ago, back when their parents were still alive. Afterward, the siblings take a walk through the woods, and surprisingly, Emily feels romantic love for Jacob, despite being married and him being her younger brother. She begins to imagine living with Jacob as a couple. However, their moment is interrupted by a group of men hunting in the forest, searching for the Black Panther Jacob read about in the newspaper. Despite the dangerous wild animals nearby, the siblings aren't scared at all and decide to find shelter together in the woods, spending the night there. The next morning, as the sun rises, they wake up together and spot a mourning dove, which makes Emily feel calm. They decide to hike up the mountain to fulfill Jacob's dream, but after climbing a few rocks, Emily says she's tired and doesn't want to go any further. They lie on the rocks together, enjoying the beautiful view. When night falls, they return to their childhood home. That evening, as Jacob is getting ready for bed, Emily approaches him, and the tension between them increases, leading to a tender moment where they openly express their feelings for each other. Over the next few days, the siblings grow closer than ever, spending all their time together and feeling as if the world belongs solely to them. One day, Jacob asks Emily if she loves him, and in response, she starts kissing him. Afterward, they go down to a lake and swim together. Later, as Emily and Jacob enjoy nature in a field, Andreas calls to check on Emily, but she ignores the call because she is with Jacob, who has come to mean more to her. Eventually, they return home and find a middle-aged man waiting outside their door. He mentions seeing the ads for the house and expresses his interest in buying it. To Jacob's surprise, Emily now no longer wants to sell the house, so she tells the man to contact her husband first. That night, Emily seeks Jacob in his room, hoping to strengthen their connection. They share a tender moment and become intimate before falling asleep. The following morning, Jacob tells Emily that he doesn't want to sell the house and refuses to sign the legal papers. This frustrates Emily, and Jacob realizes that Emily might be using him for her own benefit. The siblings engage in a heated argument, and their relationship begins to fracture. Despite Emily's attempts to explain that she isn't using Jacob, he still refuses to speak to her. Ultimately, he insists they should sell the house so they can avoid seeing each other again. While Emily cries in the backyard, Jacob decides to leave. She is left alone in the house with her thoughts and realizes she doesn't want to be apart from him. Unfortunately, she feels compelled to sell the house because her husband needs the money to keep their business afloat. Alone in the house that night, Emily falls asleep. The next morning, Andreas wakes her up, informing her that someone is interested in buying the house, so she needs to pack her things and get ready to leave. As Emily and Andreas clear out the house, Jacob shows up again, silently gathering his belongings and signing the papers before leaving. Emily runs after Jacob, crying in his arms and even kissing his neck, but he is no longer affected by her emotions. When Andreas witnesses their reaction to each other, he realizes that Emily and Jacob share a relationship deeper than mere sibling affection. Despite this, Jacob leaves anyway. In the final scene, Andreas realizes Emily's determination to be with Jacob. Although she agrees to sell their childhood home, she knows she can never truly be apart from him. Despite their relationship being forbidden, Emily heads into the woods to find her brother once more.